Good morning, everybody. Keith Engel, TGI Sports Talk. Welcome to this beautiful, foggy Sunday morning here in East Greenbush. We're the only live streaming sports webcast from East Greenbush. It's going to burn off and be a nice day, I think. Yesterday was a pretty nice day for a fall day, and if you notice from my little promo for this show, I just did not feel like sitting outside. It was a little breezy, so we did a live cut in to promote this show from Druthers. Hoping Druthers sees this and likes it, and maybe they'll do a little, maybe they'll do a sponsorship of us. Who knows? Going places. Guys, before I get started, I've joined a lot of groups, football related, NFL football related, college football related, Major League Baseball related, even more specifically related than that. And I've been posting the show, looking for admin approval to post the show. So, today we're going to cover a lot of, and I thank them for letting me join. Today we'll cover a lot of ground. We got the NFL to cover, and the big stories with COVID-19 there, and some of this, where we stand in the season. We got our picks at the end of the show, obviously. So we got something for the NFL people. We got a big college wrap up segment to cover, and then of course Major League Baseball. So you'll be seeing it pop up on more and more of these sites, and it's really helping drive the followers. So I thank those groups for letting TGI Sports Talk join, or Keith Engel join, and share the content. There's a lot of good, relevant interviews on Fridays, obviously, as you guys know, that watch fairly regularly. And then we do the Sunday take. I don't know. I've kicked around trying to do a few more shows, as I've mentioned in the past. It's hard. I do have a real job that takes up a lot of my time, at least for now, the next X amount of years. But I don't know. I've kicked around maybe doing a show and make it more one topic specific and do a couple of them. I don't know. We'll talk about it, but we're going to continue doing this show here on the MLB Network. There's news coming up. Joe Altieri's MLB Network. There could be news coming up there here in the near future. We'll see how that goes. But we're going to continue to be here every Friday, and I want to thank my guest last Friday, Ken Schott from the Daily Gazette. We had a lot of fun, a great conversation, starting with our animals. So it was kind of dogs and cats with Keith and Ken for a few minutes at the beginning of the show, but we had a lot of fun. I got Dick Weiss coming up this Friday, which you'll see another promo for here. I'll cut this afternoon or this morning rather. Dick's a very prominent sports writer, covered basically college sports throughout his career, but he's also plugged into the NFL and the NBA and such. But I think we're going to concentrate Friday on college football and even college basketball coming up here shortly. Just a few weeks away, and what's going to happen with the COVID-19 situation with them and some other topics. Again, Dick was big with the New York Daily News for a long time. We'll talk about what he's up to today. He did not retire. He's still writing columns in the Philadelphia area. And in the promo, I'll have a little bit more information. It's escaping me now, the publication that he's writing for. But we'll have a great conversation with him. We got a lot to cover today, guys. Good gosh. And I want to thank all of you, by the way. I thanked a lot of people. I want to continue to thank you, my diehards that show up every Friday, every Sunday. If you want to call in today, again, I'll remind all the groups, I'll be covering the NFL. I'm going to cover the NFL out of the gate today, college football, because that's a big story. College football recap from earlier, and then some Major League playoff news and some other MLB news. It's a little bit sadder, but I want to touch on it. And I want to thank all of you guys, as I said, for showing up every week, asking your questions in the room. Sundays, it's easier for me to get to because I'm not doing an interview. I jump around and, we get a little discombobulated because I might have moved on to something else and I got back up, but that's fine. And if any of you want to call in, always remember that we have, let's see if this screws up my, it's a very small runner at the bottom. So let's see if that doesn't screw up our video as it has from time to time. There's the number, 518-308-8225. If you guys want to call in and chat or do the picks with me later, somebody wants to send me their email address, I'll be glad to send out an invite. You can come right on the air with me and do the picks later too. You don't even have to call in. I will do the picks and we'll compete against each other. I did cheat myself a little bit last week. I did go 10-6. I gave myself an extra loss. So graduating from Perth Central High, I don't math as well as I probably should. I probably shouldn't blame them either. Anyway, let's jump into it. Lots to cover, guys. Lots to cover. The NFL. Welcome to the NFL coronavirus. You guys have been following the stories this week. It started with the Titans with a breakout. I mean, they're close. They're in the high teens, closing it on 20 people. Their game's been postponed. Their game with Pittsburgh, big game. 2-3-0 teams. Would have been one of the better games on the schedule this week. I think I'm starting to see some issues. I'm going to stop this ticker, and we'll put the number. Well, maybe we won't. I don't want the ticker, guys. All right. I think we got it now. All right. There's the number. If you guys want to call in, again, if anybody wants to jump on later on, we may go more than an hour today. I got so much to cover. I'm not sure how long we're going to go. Back to the NFL. COVID-19 has made its debut, more or less. I mean, last week before the Atlanta game, they had one of their cornerbacks test positive. AJ Terrell tested positive before the game last week. He didn't play. He was quarantined. They haven't had any more problems. But back to the Titans, they had, and the NFL's looking to see if they've busted protocol. And if they have, there's going to be some serious repercussions, I think, for the team. Because now they've been postponed. The Pittsburgh Titans game has been postponed to the 7th week. I've got to look into all the logistics. I just heard about this last night. I haven't been able to figure out how they've done this. I'm pretty sure I had heard earlier in the week they did not have the same bye week, so it wasn't as simple as doing that. So they may have had to rearrange the schedule a bit. And, now you've got Cam Newton for the Patriots. My beloved Patriots. Cam Newton's down with COVID. The rest of the team's been clean so far, but I mean, they say 2 to 3 day incubation period to start to show symptoms, or test positive. But I mean, it's got to be longer than that, or why would we quarantine for 2 weeks when somebody has it? So we'll see what happens there. They are scheduled to play, I think, Tuesday right now. It's still up in the air whether they'll play or not. It's up in the air whether the game will be on TV now. That was going to be the game we got here in the local area, which we were happy about. I'm thinking, and I hope they're not happy about the Cam and the Patriots having a COVID situation, but they're probably happy the game got postponed, because I'm assuming we will get Bills and Raiders now at 4:25. We'll jump into some of that stuff when we get to the picks later. But the NFL's got to be very careful here. Cam wasn't the only player to test positive. Kansas City had a player on their practice squad, a quarterback whose name I will butcher, so I'll probably will skip it. You won't recognize it likely anyway, unless you're a big Kansas City fan. Jim Orpello might mention it or recognize it. If you want to mention it, that'd be great. Jordan Tamahu took a shot, Jordan. I hope I didn't butcher it too badly. We mentioned Cam Newton. I know that the New Orleans Saints have a positive test. Cornerback for the Saints has tested positive. He's being retested today, though. So who knows? But the point is, this is going to happen. They spent training camp, not in a bubble like the NBA or the NHL during their playoffs, not in a bubble, but it was a controlled environment, a more controlled environment. They came to the practice field. They did go home, but they had more You weren't traveling. You weren't interacting with as many different players. I mean, it's amazing to me that a week after this Vikings Titans game last week, nobody on the Vikings has tested positive. That's the one positive thing so far about this story. But we're at a critical juncture right now for the NFL. They can postpone a game here and there. They can do some juggling of the schedule with bye dates and whatnot. And is that fair to some teams? Pittsburgh didn't do anything. They have no positive tests. Now their schedule's being rerouted, and they're paying a price. I don't know. There was an article in SI.com this morning. And that writer was advocating that the NFL shut things down right now, pause for 2 weeks. I don't know if that's the answer. You can pause for 2 weeks, right? We started up again in 2 weeks, and after 2 or 3 more weeks, we'll be right back where we were if this is the way it's going. And the NFL, by all accounts, for most parts, have supposedly followed protocol, at least behind the scenes. But you can see, obviously, there are some issues. I saw shots of the Jacksonville. Let's just talk about the fans for a second. I saw shots of the Jacksonville Jaguar game last week. Still shots. They allowed 25% capacity, I think. But that's a still shot of this one section. And I don't know, 200 people in the shot. I'm going to tell you at least 10 to 20% of those people didn't have masks on. They had them down around their neck. Doesn't do any good. I don't know. And they're clustered together, these people. So that's a problem. The coaches have been a problem, not wearing the masks on the sideline the way the NFL dictated they should do. The Raiders have had all kinds of incidents in the last week, in their locker room at an event they were at to raise money. God bless them. Good for them. But they're there without masks. So the NFL's come down on them pretty good. But these are things that possibly could derail the season. Same thing could happen in college. I see the same thing with the fans I just talked about in the college games. So I'm not sure where we're going. I hope we get through this. From a personal standpoint, it hurts my team. I don't hide the fact that I'm a huge Patriot fan. I try to be objective on all issues. And I think there are some people that are friends of mine that will agree with that, and there's some that won't. But and I kid around a lot about some of the Patriots' past problems. I'm not a big fan of some of them, but I do kind of have some fun with it. But now Cam's out at least 2 weeks. We're gonna play, by all accounts, Hoyer. Not a big fan. They like him. They brought him back 4 times and got rid of him, which means they got rid of him 3 times, by the way. So how much they like him is debatable. I'd rather see the kid from our other Auburn quarterback, Stidham, get in the game myself. We're going to have a tough time. If we play this game this week against Kansas City, we're going to have a rough time. There won't be a line on the game. The line was 7. I was actually going to take my Patriots today. I don't usually put any money on the Patriots because I don't want to be disappointed. They're almost always favorites, right? Until just a few weeks ago, they'd had 60. God, I can't remember the number now. 69 straight games where they were a favorite. And I never want to root for my team and be unhappy when they win. But when they get points, that's a little different. But there won't be a line. We'll talk again about that in the pick section, though. So it's going to be tough for the Patriots now the next couple of weeks, at least, to get by. I mean, they do have the Broncos next week, I think, which helps a little bit. But again, it is what it is. COVID's here. I'd love to see your opinions if you guys have some. I got away from the comment section here. We got none yet. So weather's still good here in the Northeast, and probably around the country. So hopefully Saturday, Sunday mornings we'll get more people in the room and get more activity and phone calls and whatnot. But I don't mind doing the show and doing my rants and you guys watching the show later. If you watch it later, please make some comments. I'll go back. I go back every show and reply to comments. So whether it's this show or the interview shows, so please do that. I guess we'll move on from COVID for now and hope the NFL can keep this train on the tracks. We're going to find out next week. The next few weeks is going to be crucial, I think, for the NFL. So, some stories off the field. The Patriots have played well. We'll start with the Patriots. I'm kind of surprised at how well Cam has played, and now he's out, of course. But they played very well. But they're going to have a tough time, and the Bills are really playing well. They're making it hard on themselves in a lot of cases, blowing big leads 2 weeks in a row. But they're finding a way. Josh Allen is one of those guys who just might have that special something that allows him to, turn it up a notch at the end of games. Tom Brady had it. John Elway had it. Joe Montana had it. A lot of guys have had it, but the special ones have it a different way. Patrick Mahomes has it now. Guy's never out of a game. They play horribly and they win. Not that they played horribly last week, 2 weeks ago against the Chargers. Everybody's going to have those games. They won a game they should have lost. They may not lose a game. Let's just run through the stories, I guess, so far. The Bills are rolling along here at 3-0, leading the AFC East. The Chiefs, of course, 3-0. The Raiders are a good story. The Raiders have played well. They lost to the Patriots last week. Didn't play particularly well. The Patriots' defense is really good. Patriots are tough at home. Cam played well. But the Raiders beat the Saints at home. And Drew Brees is struggling a little bit, but still a good victory. The Jets we'll talk about in a second. It's just a nightmare. The Dolphins got their first win last week. They're not going anywhere. Sorry, Dolphin fans. You might as well get Tua in the game soon. NFC North, Steelers 3-0, playing really good football. Really good. Big Ben's back. He's a great player. Not one of my favorite people in the NFL, but great start for Big Ben. The Ravens 2-1, but an ugly loss last week to Kansas City. Kansas City has Lamar Jackson's number. His numbers are so bad compared to the rest of his numbers. He completes like 52% of his passes. His quarterback rating is in the 70s, and I think his yards per pass is like 5, which is awful. But I think they'll right the ship. That's Lamar's still a great player, and obviously they played a really good football team. The Browns 2-1. I don't know. I said I wasn't a big believer in the Browns, but they're doing pretty well. Bengals have been in games. Their point differential is only like 8 or 9 points. Joe Burrow hasn't played badly for a rookie quarterback. With no, real training off season, messed up training camp, no preseason games. Excuse my mug. On my mug. And in the South, you got the Titans at 3-0, playing really good football again. Maybe I don't look good here. I'm not a big believer in Ryan Tannehill, but the Colts are at 2-1, and have really outscored the opponents by like 40. So it's amazing they have won 3 games. But Phillip Rivers, I don't know. He's 40 some years old. He's not Tom Brady. Well, he's 40 years old, I think. He's not Tom Brady though, and in his workout regimen, and his arm strength is not what it was. But they're playing decent football right now, and it could be a matter of the schedule. But again, as I said last week, as one of my least favorite people in the NFL ever, even though he had some pretty good moments with my team, this inglorious fat bastard, excuse my language, this beautiful Sunday morning. You are what your record says you are was one of his favorite sayings. So if you're 3-0, you're 3-0. I don't care who you played. If you're 0-3, play tough teams, well, you're 0-3. I mean, there's no moral victories in the NFL, right? So, or in sports in general, professional sports in general, no moral victories. The Titans are a very big disappointment at 3-0. We'll talk a little bit more about them, I guess. at some point here. Let's move over to the NFC. The NFC East is a disaster. The Giants are 0-3, but they're only a game out of first place. The Eagles 0-2-1. Drew. Hey, welcome, Drew, to the show today. Rivers is an old 38. You're right. I thought he was 50, to be honest with you, but he throws like I throw, and I turned 50 this year. Oh, sorry, 60 this year. Oh, God, what else we got? Seahawks are rolling along. I mean, the NFC East, but let's stick to the NFC East for a second. It's a nightmare. I mean, somebody's going to win that division with 7 wins. It's possible. The Eagles, who were the favorite, are in total disarray, and again, they're a half game out of first place. Unbelievable. Hello to Anthony Whiteman. How are you? Oh, let's move on to the NFC West. Oh my, there's the best division in football. I mean, my surprise team was the Cardinals. They had a tough loss on the road last week, but they played very, very well. We'll see what we do with them in the picks today. But from top to bottom, that's the strongest division. The Rams have played well. A tough game in Buffalo last week, but they came back, had a chance to win. And, the 49ers, despite being banged up, are 2-1. The North, the Packers are rolling. Probably a little surprising how easily they've won their games, but, maybe you need to piss off your quarterback by drafting a quarterback, and he let's see if we got a phone call here. Hang on a second.
Call from
Anthony Whiteman.
To accept, press 1. To send a voicemail,
we do have a call. 2. Anthony Whiteman. Hello, Anthony Whiteman.
Hi, Keith. How are you?
Very good. How you doing today?
Good. So
What's
we're
on your
talking
mind?
Football today, huh? I'm a disgruntled Jet fan of 40 plus years.
Yeah, it's unfortunate you guys are not making any progress whatsoever. You and the Giants both. So,
correct. And then I just want to say that they did everything to lose that game on Thursday, and I just don't understand Jet ownership. They have to be. I hate to be brutal here, but they have to be on par with the Wilpons and maybe even worse.
Worse.
Yeah.
They're ruining a good quarterback,
What's that?
They're ruining a good quarterback. I mean, they need a coach to come in here.
Of course they are. They are, and that just shows the ineptity of how to run an organization. The Jets are very weirdly structured as far as front office wise. They have the general manager and the head coach reporting directly to the owner,
right?
Where usually it's the head coach to the GM and then to the owner. So my whole point is I just called in to say hi, but I wanted to just speak my mind of being a Jet fan. I just think what's going to happen is they will win one game, whether it be against somebody, Miami or whatever. But I think they are ruining Sam Bradford. Not Sam Bradford. What am I talking? Sam Darnold. And
he looks like Sam Bradford right now.
Yeah, I think what's going to happen is they're going to end up. They probably end up with the number 1 draft pick, and they're going to take the kid out of Clemson, and then they're going to try to trade Sam possibly to Pittsburgh because Ben's. I could see Darnold doing well in Pittsburgh.
That's a scenario that makes sense. I mean, if you're going to draft Lawrence, though, I mean, you got to obviously bring in a new coaching staff because they're just going to wreck him too.
Of course.
I mean, I didn't get this hiring. You as a Jet fan can speak to this maybe better than I, but I didn't get the hiring in the first place of Adam Gase. So.
Oh, I didn't either. And I have a friend that I've had a friend since kindergarten. He's actually the strength and conditioning coach for the Cleveland Browns, Evan Marcus. And he used to work for under Tony Sparano of the Dolphins. And he, when they let Gase go and then the Jets hired him, his friends actually from that he still had friends that worked for the Dolphin organization said, "What are the Jets doing? Why are they hiring this guy? We just fired him." It's like he ruined our team. Now I think it was just like almost like Gase actually had a spell on Chris Johnson. Said, "I will be your. I will make Sam Darnold the greatest quarterback since sliced bread." I don't know.
Yeah, he's missed the target there a bit, just a bit, just a bit outside.
I appreciate. Yeah, no, I of course, and I love your show, and we all loved when you were on the Ron Bloomberg thing. That was great to see, and I appreciate the time and for taking my call.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you watching. I hope you'll continue to watch and share with your friends. And I might try to jump on the Bloomberg call Tuesday. Maybe we'll see you there.
Yeah, they're supposed to have some. Yeah, they'll have some players on. I heard. So yeah, we'll see. Maybe we'll see you there. I appreciate the talk.
Thanks for calling, Anthony. Thanks for watching.
Take care.
Okay, bye-bye. Well, thanks,
Bye-bye.
Anthony, for calling in. That's a great, good call. Anthony's one of my newer watchers. I connected with Anthony through the Ron Bloomberg interview and sharing my show with Ron and Ron's people and some other people that I had connected with as well. So I appreciate those people all coming and becoming followers. We really increased followers that time, and viewership was awesome to the video. So let's jump back into this here. Anybody else wants to call, feel free to do so. We'll kind of jump around as we need to, and we'll go as long as we need to. It's a Sunday morning. We got football later, but I don't have any Patriots today, so we can hang out for a while. We're at the NFC North. The big surprise there is the Bears. Again, not playing great quarterback. Nick Folk has risen from the dead again, and going to be the starter there. But again, you are what your record says you are. You're 3-0. Good job, Bears. The big disappointment there, and we'll touch on the Lions quick because, again, I've said this the last couple of weeks. I fear for Matt Patricia's job. They just are not putting it together, and they've had some bad losses this year. Although they had a good victory in Arizona last week. So the Vikings, Rick Sherlock, if you're here, I apologize. I'm not going to talk nicely again about the Vikings. I did bet them last week and actually won, even though you lost, and I know that does make you feel better. Did I say Folk? No, I said Foles, Drew. I'll tell you what, Drew, you're going to be busy if you're going to be my fact checker because I misspeak a lot. I called Oklahoma State like twice last week as I rewatched the show. But thank you. I need somebody to keep me on. Usually my wife, and she doesn't do the show with me. So thank you. The Vikings, ugly start. There's a couple guys, and I'll touch on another one shortly that I don't understand how we just touched on one. I don't know how he keeps his job, Adam Gase. But I think, Mike Zimmer's going to have some problems too if they don't straighten it out. There's too much talent there to be 0-3 at this point. Go to the South. You got the Buccaneers, and obviously my old quarterback is starting to get it together. 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Didn't play, exceptionally well. But, Tommy's going to take what you give him, and that offense is going to start to click. Gronk is a non-factor, by the way, other than in the running game, and it's not a surprise. Not a surprise. Bruce Arians has said they're not going to, go out of their way to target people. If he's open, he's open. But they aren't even really making him part of the game plan, I don't think, which I'm not surprised at. Gronk was beat up, as I said here last week, when he retired. Multiple back operations, broken arms, broken legs. A year off is not going to heal that. It's only going to make, I think, at his age, and the things he's been through physically, he wasn't going to get any better. But he's still a factor in the run block game. So they do have that, and I don't think you're going to see him put up very big numbers. And the rest of the teams there are, the Panthers are kind of starting over, so that we're expected to struggle a bit. Still love the hire of Matt Rule. So I think they're probably going to be on the right track. But the Saints are struggling. Drew Brees does not look like Drew Brees. He is over 40, I think, Drew. You can correct me there. But the Falcons, again, they've had some injuries, but everybody has injuries. You can't be 0-3. Has anybody blown more huge leads in a coaching career than Quinn? I'm not sure how this guy's still got a job. I'm not sure how Mike Zimmer is not on a hot seat. I'm not sure how Adam Gase is still around. I mean, with this season being what it is with COVID-19 affecting everything, I mean, maybe I don't know, but there's got to be a few on the hot seat. We mentioned a few right there. Anybody else I can think of right off the top of my, well, Judge has been too early in his tenure with the Giants, and I think if they give him a little more say in personnel, they'll be all right. The culture, from what I read, is still good. The team is bad. Daniel Jones is regressing. I don't know what the answer is there, but I think Joe Judge has got to be, given a long leash there. Other guys in trouble. It's hard to pick anybody else out right now. Probably Bill O'Brien. Bill O'Brien's got to be in trouble. 0-3 with the Texans. And Anthony says the Jets almost hired Quinn. And they hired Bowles, and he probably would have got the same result. I don't know. Maybe you would have got to a Super Bowl and blown a 25-point lead. I don't know. But it's possible. That just shows, I think, Anthony, that as we talked about, the Jets' dysfunction and unable to get a top-notch head coach with the talent that they've had, young talent, especially a quarterback, Sam Darnold. Who doesn't want to come in and build around Sam Darnold and make him better? They've had better options, They should have hired Mike McCarthy, in my opinion, but that's just me. Develops quarterbacks, Aaron Jones. Enough said. So anyway, what else did we chat about here? If you have another topic I have not touched on, jump on it. I mean, no, the big disappointments to me are the Falcons and the Vikings, the Texans, the Eagles. Some surprises, obviously. The Packers are doing as well as they're doing. Not so much that they're winning, but the way they're winning. The Cardinals, who have looked very good. Last week's a bad home loss, but you know what? They're a young team, though. That's going to happen. And, COVID-19 is here, which is probably not a surprise, to be honest with you. It was inevitable. I'm going to move on. I think we'll do our picks here after we cover the rest. We got a lot more to cover. I'm going to move on from the NFL. Does not mean I can't jump back if somebody comes on the live part of this show and has a question. Just pop it out there. We jump back and forth, and it's kind of a stream of consciousness morning for Keith and my collective, for lack of a better term. College football. Interesting day yesterday. My picks didn't do too well. The picks that I had a few shillings on went to just 1-3. I took the points with that A&M against Bama. Jimbo Fisher's just not, every year is going to be the year that they come together and really gel, and I don't see it. That team yesterday did not play well. They got blown out by 24 points. 28 points. So that's a loser. Navy had against Air Force. Air Force absolutely destroyed Navy, which was a surprise to me. Air Force has 40 cadets opt out of the program. And they won. They rolled. I mean, the Navy's just not very good, and that's my bad. That was probably a bad even chance to take yesterday because they got blown up by BYU and didn't play tremendous last week. But anyway, Bama rolls, Georgia rolls. No surprises there. Mississippi State comes back to earth yesterday. They get their first loss against Arkansas. Not a great Arkansas team. I think it's their first win in the SEC since 2017. Not a good loss, Mike. You know, I really praised Mike Leach last week. I love Mike Leach's approach to the game. And he was actually fairly normal in his press conference after the game because he can have some, you know, out there attitudes and just opinions on things. But you know, they came back to earth. You know, welcome to the SEC. You're going to lose some games, but you can't lose them to Arkansas, especially after that huge win against LSU. You got 4 teams that are kind of separating themselves. Bama, Georgia, Clemson, and Florida really look like the cream of the crop right now. And again, that'll change maybe when the Big Ten starts to play here in a couple of weeks. And the Pac-10 a few weeks after that. But again, we talked about the margin for error there and the fact that it's going to be the eye test when it comes to the playoff. NCAA missed the boat big time this year. They had their opportunity to, at least as a one-year experiment, expand the playoff. I talked about this on the show with Ken Schott Friday. If you weren't going to go to even 16 teams would work. The bowls, why play the bowls? I mean, I suppose you can have some bowls as part of this playoff and have some other teams play. I know there's a lot of money involved, but people don't watch. They don't watch TV. I don't know why the TV networks pay. It's to fill programming on ESPN and ESPN2 and ESPNU and wherever else. But there's nobody at these games either. So they missed a boat. They could have expanded to 16 teams, at least 8 teams. Because you're going to have, when you get down to trying to pick 4 teams, how are you going to compare somebody who played 11 games, maybe went 9-2, you know, whatever, Alabama, 9-2, loses to Georgia and, I don't know, LSU, let's say. Well, maybe not LSU because they're not as good as they used to be, but another time, a really highly ranked team. And you got a team from the Pac-10 that goes 6-0 because they had a game canceled for they're playing 7 games, but they have a game canceled because of COVID, and they can't make it up. They go 6-0. I mean, that's going to bring up a lot. I mean, you think you've had arguments in the past; it's going to be even worse. But they decided not to do that. I do not think they're going to obviously move on that now. So. Anyway, those are the teams kind of separating themselves. There's some other teams that are really playing well. Miami, Hurricanes, get it right. Hurricanes, big game next week against Clemson. We'll find out how good Miami is next week, but they're playing very well. I think they're 8th in the AP poll this week. They'll be moving up. There's at least one loss in front of them. Oklahoma, other contenders right now, as you see it before these other teams start playing. I mean, there's teams ranked that haven't even played yet. Ohio State, Penn State. So we'll see what happens when they start to play. But Notre Dame's played well. We'll see how they rebound from the COVID situation. They had to shut things down themselves for a week, 2 weeks actually, and they had a bye and a postponed game that they've got to make up against Wake Forest. So we'll see how they play after the layoff. They were playing really well before it. And Oklahoma State, kind of a surprise. They had a rough offseason with some things that Mike Gundy, another guy who just shoots from the hip and doesn't think about it. You know, he wears some T-shirts from a questionable news organization. So he had some problems with it brought up some racial problems within the program, and they've come together and they're playing very, very good football. They won big yesterday. We'll go through the scoreboard quick here in a little bit. But they won pretty easily yesterday as well. So they're playing well. You know, as far as big surprises of people not playing well, Oklahoma. What is going on with Oklahoma? Good grief. They lose to Kansas State 2 weeks ago, a team that could barely get a team on the field and not forfeit. And yesterday they lose to Iowa State. You know, maybe Oklahoma's, they haven't, Rattler, I think it's the quarterback, Shane Rattler, watched him on QB1. If you've never watched that on Netflix, it's a really good show. And there's been quite a few quarterbacks that they follow these guys in high school through their senior years. And there's been quite a few players that have ended up being high impact players on the major college level. Josh Fields was one of them. Georgia's quarterback last year, his name is escaping me. Rattler was one of them, although he didn't finish his high school season. He was a bit of a head case in high school. And Rick Sherlock. Hello, Rick. Georgia did look good yesterday. As you point out to me last week, I already touched on it. We're going to touch on it again. Georgia looked great. It's the one win I had yesterday in my in the wagering department. But they won easily over Auburn. And we'll talk a little bit about that as we go through the scoreboard too. So again, Rick, if you weren't on earlier, I had mentioned them as one of the teams that were kind of separating themselves along with Alabama, Clemson, and Florida, and then some other teams in the running. I got to say hello to Bill Pulver live from Colorado. That extra hours helped, I guess. Washington, you couldn't make it, but Colorado, you could. So thanks for joining me today, Bill. Missed you the last couple of weeks, or last week. I'm not sure how long it's been. I guess a couple of shows, including Friday's interview shows. What else? Oklahoma State blows out Kansas yesterday. The Mad Hatter's having a tough time. Let's go through the scoreboard quick. See what kind of stories come up here. You guys throw your comments at me if you have them about your favorite teams. Obviously, Rick is a big Georgia fan, and they are loaded. I think they've got they're going to give Bama a run. We'll see. It's going to come down to Bama and Georgia probably, and who wins that game, and setting up their championship game. Maybe they'll play twice in 2 weeks. Who knows? The game Saturday, nothing really huge. BYU is kind of a surprise. I mean, again, it's kind of a who you've played thing, like I said. But as I mentioned before, you are what your record says you are, and they're 3-0. They're ranked 22nd in the country now. Easy win over Louisiana Tech was a bit of a disappointment this year so far. And Wake Forest rolled over Campbell, who I think plays in the Little Sisters of the Poor conference, 66-14. Doesn't count Wake Forest. Sad they play some of these teams. Let's get into the top 25 quick. Alabama, as I said, rolled 52-24 over A&M, who I thought, again, Jimbo Fisher has really he's just not they're not turning a corner. Every year here, Texas A&M's year they turn the corner. Well, you know what? If you're going to turn the corner in the SEC, well, then you got to start beating the Georgias and the Alabamas and the LSUs and whoever else we're talking about. Yesterday's game, Mac Jones, who took over during the game. Well, no, he didn't take over during the game. I'm thinking of Florida now. There was some doubt about Mac Jones coming into the season, and you know, and Tua being gone. He played well again yesterday. 4 touchdowns, 435 yards. Really great game. Florida, 38-24 over South Carolina. Probably not as close as the score there at all. You know, the Florida's really playing well. Kyle Trask is a guy who's really stepped up for them too, their quarterback. And I guess the other story there is South Carolina 0-2. Will Munchap. We were talking about coaches in trouble in the NFL. There's always coaches in trouble in college. Will Munchap not getting it done again. Didn't get it done at Florida. Not getting it done with even lower expectations at South Carolina. He's got to be on the hot seat. Georgia and Auburn, 27-6. Georgia rolls. The quarterback change was huge. Rick Sherlock's making that comment here. Again, he mentioned it last week. That quarterback change they made during the game last week turned that game around, and obviously is carried over to a much easier win against Auburn than I thought that they'd have. They were a 7-point favorite, which kind of gave me pause whether I wanted to play that game yesterday, but they obviously, I mean, that game was not as close as the score. Stetson Bennett, again, the quarterback that Rick is referring to, played really, really well. And they're a well-coached team, Georgia. Anybody can help me out with the guy who played quarterback for them last year. He's just escaping me. He was one of the featured guys on QB1 a couple of years ago. Probably won't be a show this year, obviously, with very little high school football being played around the country. Billy Pulver says, "Go Bama." We touched on them. Yeah, they were really doing well. Texas, guy, one of my unbelievably, again, another team that just can't turn the corner. Since Herman's been there, you know, they tease, they can't win. They can't win big games. And now they're losing. They struggled the first 2 weeks. They're lucky to be 2-0 going into this game. And they lose to a pretty mediocre TCU game. Well coached by Patterson. They'll always be a tough out, but you can't lose to that team at home. Yesterday, 33-31. Just can't happen. Sam Ellinger is really the only positive on that team. The defense is terrible. A lot of the defense in the Big 12 is terrible. It's not good football being played out there right now. I mean, it's been that way for a while where, it's been an offensive shootout most weeks for those teams. But moving on, one of the nation's longest winning streaks. And I was going to comment, I was all set to really play up UCF, Central Florida today at 3-0, and they lose the game last night. They had a pretty good lead in that game and lost to Tulsa 34-26 to break a long home winning streak. Jake Fromm, thank you, Rick. Jeez, I knew it was Jake, and I just couldn't come up with it. Thank you much for that. I think he got drafted by the Bills. Did he make the team, Rick? Yeah, UCF. It's amazing what they've done. They've had some major injuries, but on a mid-major level, they're always one of those teams that they say, are they going to crash the party when it comes playoff time? This year, they probably won't now that they've lost, but they've been a lot of fun to watch the last 3-4 years. North Carolina wins again, 2-0. Number 12 in the country. They beat Boston College. I know that's my buddy Mark's, one of my buddy Mark's sleeper picks. Rick says Jake Fromm did make the Bills. Good. I like him. I really liked him in that. I don't know if you watch QB1, Rick, but if you haven't and you like, I know you're a Georgia fan, go back and watch the season where Jake Fromm was highlighted. It was a really good. He's a good kid. Mark really likes BC as a sleeper. They're 2-1 now, 1-1 in the ACC. Gave up Carolina all they could handle yesterday, and Carolina was a pretty hefty favorite. So that was a good game. Cincinnati, 3-0, beat South Florida, 28-7. South Florida's not very good. We saw Notre Dame beat them by 40-some a couple of weeks ago before they were shut down by COVID, both teams last week. As I mentioned, Arkansas kind of put Mississippi State on notice that they're in the SEC now, and you can't just, you got to come out and play every week. Even the weaker teams are better than, some of the teams maybe Rick Leach is used to playing in other conferences, the bottom dwellers, as for lack of a better term. Sorry, Arkansas fans. I don't mean to disparage your team, but they're not Auburn. They're not Alabama. They're not LSU. So probably a bit of a hangover there for Mississippi State. We'll see what happens. They did move up they were 16. They're going to drop. Wouldn't be surprised if they drop out of the top 25 this week. Oklahoma State, we talked about earlier, as being one of the surprises, I guess, with some of the turmoil that they had. They won 47-7 yesterday over Kansas. And the Mad Hatter, Les Miles, is having a rough go of it, getting Kansas back in the right direction. But maybe they will. I like Les Miles, the coach. Got a bad deal at LSU for sure. Unfortunate, very unfortunate for him. We talked about Oklahoma, now 1-2 after losing to Iowa State 37-30. Don't know. Oklahoma's got to get together. The Big 12's in trouble. They want to be in the playoff. They're one of those teams, one of those leagues that's always them in the Pac-12. Always, crying about getting a team in a playoff, and we don't get the love we should get. And right now, they got one team with a chance that I can see. It's Oklahoma State. I mean, you got Oklahoma with 2 losses already. You got Texas with a horrible loss yesterday at home to TCU, and didn't play well in the 2 victories that they had, even though I said what I said. What else? LSU, after falling to 20 in the country, blows out Vanderbilt. Probably not a very good Vanderbilt team. They normally are, but still, that was a big turnaround for LSU. And they needed to put a whooping on this team yesterday, and they did it 41-7. Great job. Another surprising team, Tennessee, playing very well. They beat I think an underrated Missouri team 35-12 yesterday. Missouri hung with Alabama fairly well the week before. But I think Tennessee might be a sleeper there in the SEC. The SEC, college football fans probably aren't going to want to hear this. Certainly Big Ten fans aren't going to want to hear this, but I'm going to say Rick Sherlock will probably like hearing it, because everything runs through the SEC in college football. I mean, if they've got if they're top heavy with really good teams, they're going to get 2 teams in the playoffs every year. They're probably going to this year. I'd be shocked if they didn't have 2 teams in the playoffs again this year. Who knows? Maybe 3. I mean, again, they need to expand the playoff. 4 teams is not enough. And it's not a real playoff. You need to expand it. There's no reason they can't go to 16, teams and play those 4 games out. Don't, and NCAA, please stop making the argument about, once we get into the middle of January, we're talking about final or whatever. These are student athletes that, for the most part, and I don't want to disparage them all, some are very good student athletes. The NCAA is not worried about those kids getting to class. They're worried about giving up the money from all those other bowl games, probably. Expand it now. Pittsburgh gets upset by North Carolina State, who looked really bad the week before. Pittsburgh was 3-0 going into the game, looking for their first 4-0 start in a long time. Pittsburgh found a way to lose, unfortunately. They had just gotten into the top 25. And their uniforms are terrible, by the way. Why have all these schools? And again, I apologize when I do this, but as I said, it's a stream of consciousness thing for me. Why have all these schools gotten away from their traditional colors? And it's a bit of a rhetorical question, because I know why. It's to sell alternative colors and uniforms, but everybody does it. Teams, Pittsburgh used to be a very recognizable team when they came out of that tunnel, and now I've watched them play in purple and black and dark blue. Come on, guys, let's get back to some traditional colors, huh? Number 25, Memphis loses to SMU 30-27. SMU's got a pretty good team. They're 4-0 now in the American Conference, and they may be in the driver's seat there. And again, when you're talking about the teams outside of the Power 5 who could crash the playoff party, which is always going to be tough for these guys. You saw it with Central Florida a couple of years ago, and they really should have got a shot. And a 2-loss, it might have been a 2-loss Georgia team got in. It's going to be very hard with 4 teams for these mid-majors to get a shot. But SMU is going to be probably the one that everybody hangs their hat on for a while now. They're really playing good football at the moment. Outside of top 25, anything stand out? Not so much. Baylor surprisingly loses to West Virginia. Not a very good football team, but it was at West Virginia, 27-21. UAB wins. Army rolls over Abilene Christian. Not sure what league they're playing in these days, but Army is 3-1, playing well. You get a chance to go, and there's obviously no fans, but I will tell you, if you ever get a chance when there are fans again, you really need to take a trip to West Point and watch the Army game and get there early to watch the cadets march in to the stadium. It's an awesome experience. And I don't think you're going to get that chance this year, but hopefully when life returns to more normal circumstances, you'll have a chance to do that. Here's one game I wanted to touch on for sure. Kansas State. Talked about Kansas State last week. Beating Oklahoma. Really shorthanded, barely could get a team on the field. They win again yesterday at Texas Tech. Texas Tech not that good, but again, nice win for Kansas State. 2-0 in a conference, so we'll see. Other games, Virginia Tech comes back to beat Duke. Duke's not very good this year. It's unfortunate. I like Cutcliffe a lot. Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin gets his first SEC win as a head coach. Oh, that's a lie. He was at Tennessee. He was there for a year and ran out on the Vol fans, which I'm sure they haven't forgotten. Will be interesting. I'm not sure if Ole Miss plays Tennessee this year, but it'll be very interesting to see what happens there. But they squeak one out against Kentucky. Kentucky's another one of my disappointments. I had high hopes that they were going to make some waves in the SEC and on the national level this year, and they're playing terrible football. They're 0-2 right now, 0-2 in the league as well. Florida State, they get a win, 41-24 over Jacksonville State. Nothing to be hanging your hat on greatly going into a big game next week against Notre Dame. 41-24. That's the teams Florida State would have beaten by 60 back in their heyday. We talked about Air Force Navy. Amazing game for Air Force yesterday. 40 cadets opted out of the season, and Air Force's first game. They did play at home. Navy is not that good, and I should have learned my lesson when they got blown up by BYU, and I did not. That's really kind of it. The game's postponed yesterday. 2 yesterday again. Rice and Marshall, Troy and South Alabama. So, you've got that's the rundown kind of for the week. I think covers everything I wanted to chat about. I might have missed something. If there's anything you guys want to chat about, what do you got here? Kentucky player celebrated too early. Yeah. He flashed the peace sign. It was, I did see that this morning, Bill. One of the Kentucky players started to celebrate a little too early before a touchdown. We see that. It happened in the NFL last week, too, with Metcalf from Seattle. I mean, guys, I don't know. There's plenty of time to celebrate once you cross the goal line. Anyway. What did I want to talk about? Coaches in trouble, we talked about. Surprises, we talked about. Disappointments, we talked about. I guess that's it. Big games next week. Miami. Go you. Go you against Clemson. We're going to find out how good Miami is. And I'll tell you what, I might be a bit biased, as I am a U fan. But Derek King is very good. Very, very good. He's moved into the Heisman conversation. That offense is night and day from what they had last year and even the years before under Mark Richt. It's dynamite, and their defense is playing well. Now, again, they haven't beaten top-rated teams, but they're 3-0 and playing great football and winning easily. It'll be fun next week. I'll be very excited to see that game. Billy's asked me about the Jets. We'll talk a little bit about the Jets quickly again when we do the picks. Bill, I did talk a little bit. We talked a lot about the Jets. I actually had a caller, one of my callers, call in earlier. One of my newer followers, who I thanked, Anthony Whiteman. We talked quite a bit about the Jets. So we'll talk about them again a bit in the pick section. Other big games next week. Tennessee, Georgia should be a good game. Texas and Oklahoma, the Red River shootout. It's going to be, it's do or die. One of those teams is going to be done for the season, probably. I think Oklahoma's done already. But if Texas is going to turn their season around, then they need to do it next week against Oklahoma. I mean, they could still get to a playoff, I suppose, to the playoffs with one loss. but we'll see. Arkansas and Auburn might be an interesting game with Arkansas getting off the snide with their first SEC win in 3 years yesterday. Not holding a lot of hope. I think Auburn will probably take it out on them pretty big. And then I put this down as a big game, but it's really not. Notre Dame and Florida State. You know, it should be a big game. Probably not. Notre Dame's probably going to clean the floor with them. I'm going to jump into MLB and we're going to do my picks. So we're going a little long today. I don't mind that. We're gonna stick it out at home today for football because the Patriots aren't playing. Billy's got a backup team for pro football. No backup teams, Bill. One team. You can have one team. Well, I'm probably gonna. I'm probably about to make myself a hypocrite a little bit here when I talk about the MLB playoff picture a little bit. We'll touch on this stuff quick. I want to get onto my picks, and I don't want to rush through them. Again, if anybody wants to pick against me today, you can send me your email. I'll invite you in the room. We'll pick against each other game by game if you want. I'd love to have you in, any of you guys that are still here. I got to get Joe Altieri in, man. He knows nothing about football. It'd be awesome to pick against him. And find out what his strategy would be for those picks. MLB playoff picture. So, you know, the first round went pretty easily. I think, all but one series was done in 2 games. And a bunch of road teams, well, a few road teams won. Tampa Bay easily over the Jays. No surprise there. The Yankees win. I thought they'd struggle a little more against Cleveland, but they won 2-0. Move on to play the Rays. Sorry. Although I got to tell you, 9 inning, I don't care, rain delay or no delay, rain delay, a 9 inning game cannot get over at 1:30 in the morning. Good grief, man. Yes, I follow Brady, but I don't root for him. I don't root against him either. I just follow him. Without the Patriots, I root where my money goes is kind of the situation. We'll get into that. Houston beats the Twins, and they react like you might. Oh, I was talking about the Yankees. Jeez. Yankees, games can't get over at 1:30 in the morning, guys, unless you're playing on the West Coast and starting at 10:30. I got to work in the morning. I get up at 5:30. I can't be up till 1:30 in the morning. 18 walks, 18 or 19 walks in that game. 9-8, 10-9 final, I think. Good grief. You know, and I'm sure I'm a Yankee fan, and I'm sure the Yankee fans are happy we moved on. You know, but even in that game, Gary Sanchez tries to blow the I'll talk about it in a second. Now I'm all ticked off. I'm right back where I was on Wednesday night, I think, when I had to be up till 1:30. Houston beats the Twins and do it in very humble fashion afterwards, saying, "Oh, now everybody talk now. You guys better be quiet. You beat the Twins. They haven't won a playoff game in 17 years, or maybe more. I'm sorry. They've lost 17 playoff games in a row. I will say the number is. Come on. So what? You're on the road. So what? You're defending champions. Win." Yes, Bill. Yankee games are home run derbies, and you know what? You got to watch them fine. Billy says over here the Yankee game was fine. Yeah, it was like 7:30 at night it got over, right? I know time zones aren't that big a difference. I like to exaggerate sometimes. Oakland beats the Sox in a much closer series than I would have thought. Oakland has really got a pretty good team. And I'll be honest with you, I don't want them to beat Houston. I want the Yankees to beat Houston. We'll talk about that in a second. The game's coming up. What's your got here? Funny how 4 of the 4 playoff series are now within the same division. You're right. It is funny or predictable. Not sure which. LA had an easy time with the Brewers. No surprise there. San Diego, even shorthanded with pitching. The 2 best pitchers could not pitch in this series. And they beat St. Louis 2-1. They had a great comeback win too Thursday night, I believe. It's a nice team. They put together a nice team. They're one of the few teams that the trade deadline went out and made a bunch of moves, and they're paying off. Here's where I'm going to contradict myself a little, Billy Pulver, so you be listening close. The Marlins beat the Cubs. I do have a little piece of my heart that roots for the Marlins because of Donnie Baseball and Jeter and Mel Stottlemyre Jr., who's the pitching coach. Mel was supposed to be on my show about a month ago, and he promised he would be. He's been busy. I guess he probably didn't expect to be maybe in the hunt. He wanted to come on before the Miami series, and I'd already had the Friday booked. But I'm going to try to get him on. Tentatively, I've got October 30th open, and I really hope to get him on the show. Mel has done a great job with that pitching staff and Donnie Baseball, Don Mattingly. If you're not sure who I'm talking about, Bill Pulver. If he's not the Major League Manager of the Year, I don't know who is. Again, this is an aberration of a season, and we all know that. I don't care about any of the individual awards. I don't care about any of that. There's some excitement here yet in the postseason, and I'm excited about that. I hope we don't stay with this type of postseason with 16 teams in the future. I hope that goes away like some of the other things that I don't like, and I know Drew will agree with me on a lot of this stuff. He had a few rants in a group text here this week, which I mostly agree with for sure. But I am it's exciting to see a team like the Marlins, and they win because they play good baseball, good fundamental baseball. All the things I rail about with the Yankees don't do well, the Marlins do well. And Atlanta beat Cincinnati 2-0. I mean, the offense was non-existent in that game. I think they had a 14-inning 1-0 game where there was 37 strikeouts, 38 strikeouts. I don't mind a 1-0 game, but oh my God, 37 strikeouts. Strikeouts are strikeouts, walks, or home runs. That's what they get, and the other guys are just hitting the shifts all day long. God, sometimes it's hard to watch the games. That's why I root for teams like the Marlins. There I go, Bill. I said I root for the Marlins. Not more than Billy says he knows nothing about sports, but he knows Donnie Baseball. Everybody knows the Hitman. All right. That's who won. Who's going to win the next series? Keith's predictions. We're going to have a long show today, boy. But I love it. I love being here with you guys. I'm having a blast doing this stuff, I hope you guys are having fun too. I'm a novice. I got a real job. I'm having fun though. And I enjoy having you guys in, and Sundays are fun for me. I love the interview show on Fridays. I've had some great interviews. I got some great ones coming up, as I mentioned at the top of the show, and I'll mention that probably again before we get out. But Sundays I can at least pay attention to some of the questions coming in. We get a few calls here and there, and do feel free to call if you'd like. And again, if you want to make picks against me, just send me an email. I'll get you right here in a room. You can pick side by side. Let's go through the series. I'm going to leave the Yankees for last. Houston at the A's. The A's should win this series, but Houston's defending champions. Houston is unable to steal signs on offense, but their pitching's kind of short with Verlander out. The bullpen's in disarray. I still am going to root for the Astros because I want the Yankees to beat the Astros. Payback. Get it done on the field. I'm going to skip over to the National League quickly. LA and San Diego. I think that's going to be a closer series than people think. The Dodgers are the best team in baseball right now. San Diego is playing good baseball right now. Fernando Tatis Jr., even with all his antics, which I'll save for another show. Great player. Great player. They got great players. So they got some really good role players. They got some big names. They got some great pitching. If Clevenger and Lamont come back for the this series, they'll be tough. If not, the Dodgers are probably going to take it easily. So I'd like to see a longer series here. Miami and Atlanta. I'm going to go with my heart here. I'm going to take Miami and root for Donnie. Just to win one more series at least. I mean, it'd be fun to see them play the Yankees in a World Series, wouldn't it? Be an interesting, Marlins haven't made the playoffs since 2003 when they beat the Yankees in the World Series. They've got such a Yankee connection with, as I said, Jeter and Mattingly and Mel Jr. Got to get Mel on the show. I told him October 30th, right after they lose a tough seventh game to the Yankees. He didn't respond to that comment, so I hope I haven't lost him. I know I congratulate them after every win. So I'm going to go the Marlins there. I don't know. I just feel like the Braves are good. Braves got a lot of offensive talent. They got some really good pitchers. We got a great local story here in Ian Anderson pitching lights out, and he'll probably get the ball in game 2. I would think maybe game 1, but I don't think he'll be ready yet. I don't have the schedule in front of me here. Oh, I do. When the Braves play. Yeah, the Braves don't play until Tuesday. I don't think Anderson's ready, but he'll probably pitch game 2. Great story here locally. You can't root against local kids, but hope he pitches well and loses a close game, I guess. So I like the Marlins there. So we got the Dodgers. I'm picking the Dodgers. I'm picking the Marlins. I'm picking the Astros. On to Tampa Bay and the Yankees. This series has a potential. They're sitting on a powder keg here. These two teams. Rick is asking me a question here. Did Mel leave on his own or because of health and he was let go? You're talking about Mel Stottlemyre when he retired as a player or as a coach, Rick? He left, obviously he left the Yankees and he was the pitching coach for Seattle for a couple of years. He was still battling health problems, both with the Yankees and with Seattle, but I think they had a mutual. He left when Torrey left. Oh, no, sorry, he didn't. He left before that. Ron Guidry was a pitching coach. So he may have. I think they had a mutual parting of the ways. I don't think he and the front office were getting along all that well. But that's stuff I would like to talk to Mel Jr. about. Obviously, I want to talk about his. The Marlins' amazing season, but one of the reasons I wanted to have him on the beginning was to talk about his dad too. So we'll get some of those answers. So that's a good question. I think Mel had some problems with the front office, and that's how he ended up leaving the Yankees. And it's sad, he's been gone a couple of years now. So out of Tampa Bay and New York, again, sitting on a powder keg. These two teams, the Rays have had the Yankees numbered this year. I think they were 2-8 against the Rays. Tampa Bay has got a great pitching staff. I can't name one guy. I mean, I can name a couple guys. I got challenged by Peter Gallenbeck, I think, the great author of many sports books. I was in a conversation on Facebook with a bunch of guys, and he said, name 5 guys on the Rays. It's hard to do, but they're really good. Might be the second best team in baseball. Got a great manager. They've had a great rivalry with the Yankees. All of a sudden, it's turned into this. It'd probably be because of them dominating the Yankees this year. If you don't know, I think it was the last game or second to last game they played during the regular season. Chapman buzzed somebody over his head, probably 101 miles an hour. The intent was debatable, but cooler heads did prevail. There wasn't anything. I mean, again, you had a typical baseball come out and mull around for a while. But after the game, Kevin Cash says, we'll fix this. We'll settle this on the field. I got a whole stable full of guys who throw 98. I'm paraphrasing, but his point was easily detectable. You know, I don't know whether this will manifest itself in the playoffs. It's not a great place you want to get into a beanball wars in the playoffs and have players thrown out and suspended, which they don't tend to do in the playoffs. They tend to suspend them, you know, the next regular season, which I don't agree with. You know, if you've done something egregious enough to get suspended, it should be now, not next year when you're going to miss games 1 through 5 or 7 or 10, and you're a pitcher maybe, and you're going to miss 2 games. Dispense the justice now, or don't suspend them all. Let these guys figure it out. Somebody's going to get thrown at. Let them play. As long as they're not thrown at somebody's head, fine. The game's played this way for 100 years. It's okay to pitch inside. It's okay to take care of things on the field, right? I loved CC Sabathia. Again, Tampa against Tampa Bay. Last year, his last start. CC threw away $500,000. All he had to do was get through the 5th inning. But he protected a teammate. Got thrown at, came out the next inning, threw at the next guy. We're even. CC throws away $500,000. Not that $500,000 is probably a lot to CC Sabathia, but still. They miss a guy. The Yankees miss guys like that. I love CC and his leadership. You know, he had some problems back in oh gosh. The year will escape me now, and I don't want to misspeak. I want to say 2015. You know, at the end of the season, he had some problems at the final series in Baltimore and didn't play, and wasn't on the playoff roster, and Yankees went up pretty quickly in that series. Oh, I think they went out in the wild card game in that season. And CC had some personal issues, and CC got it together. CC was a very productive pitcher, even when he was didn't have half the weapons that he had previously. He learned. He was smart. He learned how to pitch. But he also stood up for his players, which doesn't happen much today. Guys take offense at getting thrown on the inside part of the plate. It's a strike, basically, and these guys are glaring out and wanting. Yeah, come on. Fighting's prohibited this year, right? But I don't know. You might see one this year. So it's going to be a tough series, and I think this is where my heart is going to override my head. These games are all in neutral sites, by the way, if you don't remember. Tampa Bay and the American League Championship Series is in San Diego, I believe. Both games are in San Diego. Correct me if I'm wrong here, guys. And I think the National League Series is in Anaheim and the World Series is in Texas. Nobody's playing home the rest of the year, so that plays a big factor here. So I'm going to take the Yankees. And it's going to be a hard-fought battle, and the Yankees have got to play smart baseball. Somebody mentioned, I think it was Billy, the Bronx Bombers are back. Yeah, well, that's great. But when you're not hitting home runs, you got to find a way to manufacture runs. And the Yankees have not proven they can consistently do that. They got too many guys who just go up there, regardless of the situation, swinging for the fence, hitting directly into the shift. They got a few guys like DJ LeMahieu, the machine, who doesn't do that. He plays great situational baseball. Ursulus for a little bit. What a great player, by the way. Greg Nettles came out the other day and commended him. He turned one of the best double plays I have ever seen in my life. And Nettles said the same thing. And Nettles was my guy back in the 70s. What a great double play he turned. But you got to play good fundamental defense. You got to play smart situational hitting. And the Yankees don't always do that. The Yankees sit back and wait for home runs. Gary Sanchez is still a liability. I know he hit a home run in game 2, wind aided, by the way, gale force winds blowing in that game. I'm sorry to be such a downer on Sanchez. I cannot get myself to say he should play. Ishikawa should play. Butchered his name probably too. Great. He's played great. He's going to catch Cole. He should catch everybody. And, you know, in that game that seemed to go on for an eternity Wednesday night when I didn't know if I could even make it another minute. 1-run lead, 2 outs. Gary drops a third strike, gets by him. Guy gets on base. Catch the ball, Gary. That's all they got to do. I don't know. I think Gary's a lost cause. We'll talk more about it after the season. I don't want to continue to sit here and rail on Gary Sanchez, but they've got better options. You got to personally get Kratz or Ishikawa in the game for defense, if nothing else. If you got to get him in thinking his 147 batting average has got to be in the lineup, then by all means start him, Aaron, but get him out of the game for defense. You got Kratz, who I think is the same age as me, but he's a good defensive player. So that's where we're at. That's what I see. And I have to mention a couple other things, but again, that's how I see the next rounds going. We'll talk about where we're at through this. We had some several sad stories in baseball this week. Some of my favorite players, a couple of my favorite players from the 70s and before. Well, I don't go a lot before the 70s. I'm not that old. But Bob Gibson, the great pitcher for the Cardinals, passed away yesterday or Friday. Great pitcher. Probably personally responsible. Well, maybe him and Koufax and Drysdale, those two retired, I think, after they made the changes to the pitching mound. They lowered it 5 or 6 inches after 1968 when he had a 1.12 ERA. I don't know how he lost 9 games that year. They must have had a putrid offense. A lot of teams did in those years. That's why they lowered the mound. But I think in a lot of ways he was personally responsible for that, and he was very angry after they did that. But Bob was one of the great pitchers. He was a pitching coach later on for Joe Torre in Atlanta. I think he might have been a pitching coach with the Mets. A monster on the mound, but by all accounts that I've read, just a great man off the field. Jay Johnstone, one of my favorites. Not a great player, great role player, great guy to have on a team. Play with the Yankees for one season, or part of one season. But I always got a kick out of Jay wherever he was playing, in Philadelphia, in Los Angeles. I mean, he played everywhere. Played for the Angels, the White Sox. I'm sure I'm missing some teams, but he was a professional hitter. He could hit that guy. Come on, he could hit a line drive probably coming out of a coma for 20 months. But he was never good enough to play every day. Platooned. Had some great seasons in Philadelphia, platooning in right field when they were coming of age in the 70s and becoming a playoff team. But he was a prankster too, and a lot of fun. He had a fun book he wrote a few years ago too, and you guys should probably check that out. But another great loss for baseball. Also, Ron Peronowski died yesterday. Relief pitcher with the Dodgers for many years, pitching coach for the Dodgers for many years. He'll be sadly missed. And a lesser known name, Lou Johnson, also a Dodger, very instrumental in their 1965 World Series victory. And I think because of some things he overcame in his personal life, I think he was instrumental in some other major leaguers overcoming some issues that they had during their careers or their life, maybe even their life after baseball. So he'll be greatly missed by a lot of people. Other than that, Ron Renicky fired. no big surprise. And also the Philadelphia general manager stepped down this week. Probably not a big surprise. That team continues to disappoint. I talked about that with Ken Schott Friday. He's a big Philadelphia fan, and they continue to not meet expectations. They got a lot of talent there, and they just find ways not to win. So anyway, we're almost an hour and a half into the show, guys. I'm just getting to my picks. I knew there was a lot to cover today. I don't mind being here. I hope you don't. I just hope I can download the show to put in a couple places. Sometimes StreamYard is a little funky when your show goes too long. But anyway, we're live, so that part will be there. Yeah, actually, I don't think I'll have any problem. So let's move on to the picks for week 10. I have to make a point that I cheated myself a little bit the other day. I said I went 10-7. I went 10-6. I gave myself an extra game somehow. So let me get myself a little my little cheat sheet here. So I was 10-6, and for the season, I believe, did I write down what that made me? Bear with me 1 second, guys. I have a little note here. Yes, 10-6 last week, 27-20-1 against the spread so far this year. I'm in a pick'em league with Drew, if Drew's still here, which is just no spread, and I'm doing worse. I think. I'm not sure what my total is there, but let's see what we got for week 4. Let's go through these games. Obviously, we got a couple of postponements with the Titans and Pittsburgh going to play in week 7 now. We aren't sure yet about the Patriots. I believe the last I heard is they're going to try to play Tuesday, assuming there's no more positive COVID tests. But we'll start with today's games. I'll probably pick that Patriot game regardless, which I'm probably going to chalk up as a loser right now because I can't pick against them. Anyway, we're going to go down the list here. Some of the better matchups of the day. Chargers at the Buccaneers at 1 p.m. The Bucs are 7. Brady's starting to get it together. Chargers have played better than I think they're 1-2, but they played pretty well, I think. All things considered. They're still going to play. I don't think they know yet whether Tyrod Taylor or Justin Herbert spread them. I don't know if they know who their quarterback is going to be yet, but their defense is playing really, really well. And, I still don't think Brady and the weapons are clicking quite 100%, but I don't think I can pick against Tampa Bay. Again, my thoughts, and I may go against it at least once today, but my thoughts on West Coast teams coming east for 1 o'clock games. Historically, they don't do well. So we're going to take Tampa Bay minus the 7 here. And moving on, we got the Colts and the Bears, which has now been moved to 4:25. I think that was a 1 o'clock game originally. It was moved to 4:25 to replace the Patriot Chiefs game, which would have been a great game, by the way, with Cam. We'll see what it's going to be now. The Colts 2-1. They really were embarrassed in week 1, but they've played really well. A couple of convincing victories in their last 2 games. The immortal Phillip Rivers, who, again, I proclaimed to be 50 years old, and Drew pointed out he's an old 38. I'm seriously convinced I have a better throwing motion than Phillip Rivers, by the way. The Bears are 3-0. I'm not sure how. But again, you are what your record says you are. Nick Foles will probably be the starting quarterback after the come from behind victory in Atlanta. And it was interesting to see Nick Foles actually succeed a little bit outside of Philadelphia. Nick Foles has made millions and millions, maybe tens of millions of dollars based on two, really good stretches that probably don't total 12 games in Philadelphia over a couple of years, separated by 5 or 6 years. One of them ended up ultimately being a Super Bowl victory against the Patriots, unfortunately. But this game is a Colts or 2.5. Not sold on the Bears. This game's at the Bears, so the Colts are a road favorite. I'm going to have to take the Bears plus the 2.5 here. Hard for me to lay, the Colts got to show me more, and the Bears defense has played okay. If they can get to Rivers and shake Rivers up, then I think the Bears win the game. Billy's agreeing with me in Tampa. You're going to have to keep track of your games, Bill. Maybe I will. Let's go. Billy's picking against me. You're saying the whole way. You're supposed to pick these games and call me, but you probably can't do that. You don't want to call long distance from Colorado. So I'm going to put Bill Pulver down as the guest picker this week. We're got to get this thing off the ground. So Billy's got Tampa Bay. Billy's got Chicago. We haven't picked against a team differently yet. A very interesting game at 425, which now the Bills fans are probably happy the Patriots aren't playing today because the Bills will be on locally here. The Bills are 3-point favorites on the road at Vegas. God, it's so hard to say the Las Vegas Raiders, right? I mean, what's going on with the Bills defense, though? The Bills defense is supposed to be one of the best in the league, and they're giving up points, 25 points a game, 380 yards of offense. And maybe it's because they've gotten out the big leads and the defense has taken a breath. I don't know. But they've let teams back into every game they've played. And Josh Allen has gotten them out of that. So Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. Two really fun players. I'm going to take the Raiders plus the 3. What do you got, Bill? Put your pick down so I can write it down. I'm moving on to the next game. We'll be here all day. Ravens at the team formerly known as the Redskins. Billy's got the Raiders. Boy, not going to take much to separate our picks this week. Ravens minus 13 at Washington. That's a lot of points on the road. Washington may be looking to make a quarterback change if they don't play better this week. They're really, really struggling on offense. The running game has been pretty good. I would think you'll see a hefty dose of that today, assuming they don't fall behind by 20. The Ravens are probably going to be looking to really lay the wood to these guys after their horrible performance against Kansas City. I'm going to have to lay the points even on the road. I'll take the Ravens minus 13 on the road. I'll wait for your pick, Bill, as I move on to the next game. Minnesota at the Texans. Oh, God. These teams are both 0-3. Rick, if you're still in the room, I apologize. I mean, I was on your team last week. Did win. 13 points is the Ravens, Bill. There's no line here on the Houston or the Vikings Houston game, I think, because of the COVID thing. So we're going to call this a pick'em game for our purposes here. Vikings at the Texans, a pick'em. The Vikings have had a different week as far as preparation here. Billy takes Washington in that game. We got one different now. All right. Somebody's got to break a streak here, I think, according to the rules, well, you could have a tie. Somebody's got to win this game. and it's not going to be ugly. It's not going to be pretty. It's going to be ugly out there, I think. Again, short, not a short week, but a truncated week of preparation for the Vikings. Two teams in disarray, two coaches that are probably in trouble. This is a desperation bowl for these two teams, and I'm going to have to take the Texans. Sorry, Rick Sherlock. I'm on the Texans. Again, we're calling this a pick 'em. And Billy's on the Vikings. I see you picking two, Drew, but I'm going to go only with one guy this week. So tune in next week, and you'll be my guest picker. You'll be my guest competitor. Eagles at the 49ers, 8:20 NBC. Probably thought this was going to be a better game when they scheduled it, I'm sure. 49ers are still banged up. Richard Sherman's still a week away, as is Deebo Samuel. I think it's possible Garoppolo's going to play today. Mostert's going to play today. Kittle may play today. So the 49ers have got some people. By the way, this is a 7-point game, Bill. Sorry. Eagles at the 49ers. The Eagles are just a mess. I got to go with the 49ers here. And I'm going to hope that those core players we just talked about are going to be able to play. Billy's on the 49ers as well. You're going to Oh, sorry, that was Drew. They do suck. You're right, man. Even if Nick Mullins plays today, I think they win. I think they cover the spread. Assuming their running backs are back. Browns at the Cowboys. Again, I'm not a believer in the Browns. I still cannot get behind this team. I don't know why. Baker Mayfield. I just don't know. But they're 2-1. They played decent football. Billy's on the 49ers. Mostert's out, according to Drew. I'm still going to take Drew's your partner. You couldn't get a better one, Bill. Good job. Okay, Browns at Cowboys. 1:00 today. Not sure. That game could be on TV. Not sure. Cowboys are 4.5. Cowboys are 1-2, and they pulled out. I mean, they should be 3-0. I mean, they pulled out one of the most incredible wins that you'll see against the Falcons, who, by the way, as I mentioned before, has anybody blown more huge leads than Dan Quinn? Oh my God, how has he got a job? He's a defensive genius, supposedly, and their defense is not good. They're banged up on offense. Jones and Ridley may both be out today. I'm sorry. Sorry. They're not playing the Falcons today. Sorry. I got myself going on Dan Quinn. We're in a Browns and Cowboys still. I'm going with the Cowboys. And Bill is on the Browns, even though his partner picked the Cowboys. He's got the Cowboys -4.5. Bill's on the Browns. One of my sleeper picks for the season, the Cardinals, got to come east. This is where I may break my one of my cardinal rules about betting. Don't take teams traveling west to east. But the Cardinals, I think, are only 2 hours now. Arizona's funky. Depends on the time of year and the part of the state you're in, I think, whether you're 3 hours behind. Right now, they're only 2. Pretty sure. But the Panthers, who, again, I like the things they're doing there. I love their head coach. They're going to have some growing pains, though. And I love Christian McCaffrey, but he's out. Which makes Carolina a tough pick here. The Cardinals are 3.5, Bill. Cardinals 3.5 at the Panthers. I am going to say Arizona takes a huge growth and step forward in their growth and wins this game on the road by more than 3.5. So you make your pick as I move on, Bill, to the Seahawks and Dolphins. This game is at 1 o'clock. This game also tests my theory about West Coast teams coming east. Falcons are 6.5-point favorites. Miami's been in games this year. They came back, almost beat Buffalo in week 2. They got their first win last week. Seattle's got to come back, come east. Billy's on the Panthers, by the way. So, Bill, you got this game as the Seahawks minus 6.5 against the Dolphins. I know we got a little delay, so that's how I know I got to keep. Oh, I know who Billy's taking this game. Obviously, it's his second team, which I said you can't have. But he's going to pick Seattle. 6.5. I'm going out on a limb here. I'm taking Miami plus 6.5. Again, this is my theory about West Coast teams coming east. I broke it with only one team so far this year. And I did get hurt on that pick, but we'll move on. Billy's got Seattle. He's got them winning the Super Bowl already, I think. Or maybe they're playing the Jets. We haven't got your team yet, Billy. We will. Oh, boy. Saints at the Lions, 1 o'clock, minus 4.5. A lot of road favorites today. Hate that. Saints have not played well. They're allowing 31 points a game. Had a tough time in Vegas. They had a tough time against the Green Bay at home. Drew Brees doesn't look like Drew Brees. Detroit ran the ball great last week. They picked up Adrian Peterson when he got released by the Redskins. He had a great game last week in Arizona. That was a pretty good win. And as I said, the Lions really need to win. But if the Saints get Michael Thomas back, and you guys, Drew had already told me a couple of guys that are out because I haven't seen the inactives today yet. It's hard for me to get those before I go on the air, the official inactives. So if Drew has any information there, he can share it. But as far as I know, Michael Thomas may be back today. But again, I think there's still a questionable favorite here on the road. It's a lot of points on the road. I'm taking the Lions plus 4.5. Billy's got the Saints. All right. Oh, gosh, here comes one of the great games of the day. The Giants at the Rams. Giants are a mess. Their quarterback's going backwards. Key injuries. Saquon Barkley out for the year, as we know. Some injuries at wide receiver. They're 3-0. The Rams have played better than we thought we would play. But the 12 points is a lot in the NFL, always. But I just cannot see the Giants staying with the Rams today. I just cannot see it. I will. I'm going to lay the 12 points with the Rams over the Giants. And you know what, Drew? It looks like you're picking every game, so I'm gonna write your picks down after this as well. I'll go back through the comments and I'll write your picks down, and I will report back my result and Drew's and Billy's results when I do that this week. I'll post it. Drew says pick any team with or without points against any Meadowlands teams. That's probably a good call. Billy's on the Rams. I guess Drew's on the Rams too. I'm going to have to go back and look at all your picks, Drew. If you didn't pick every game, go back and pick them. I think you did, though. Okay. Moving on, because nobody wants to talk about the Giants and the Rams, that's for sure. Jacksonville, the Bengals, another game nobody wants to talk about. Jacksonville does have a win. Cincinnati doesn't. They've been in games, though. I think they've only lost by a total of 8 points their 3 games, and Burrow's played well, fairly well. He hasn't thrown an interception. He's thrown 5 touchdowns over his last couple starts. Rookies are unpredictable, but, Bengals are at home. Jacksonville is not very good. Cincinnati and Joe Burrow get their first win, and they will cover the 3 points. Billy and Drew are in a fight now. I don't know if I'm going to get picks out of them. Wait a minute. Did you just change your pick? I have to bet against. Oh, no, you didn't. Okay. Sorry about that. Billy picked against his Giants, which I won't do, by the way. I won't pick against my team. I'll always probably throw that game away. Where does that leave us? ESPN, Monday Night Football. The awful Atlanta Falcons, who, by the way, I should know better than to ever bet on or against the Falcons when it comes to points and money, because I can never get it right. I bet on them, they lose. I bet against them, they find a way to at least cover. And I've told my buddy Mark this. Don't let me bet Atlanta, but he doesn't ever stop me. Falcons at the Packers. Packers are 7.5-point favorites. The Packers are playing so good. So good. Better than, they're a good team anyway, but the way they're winning easily is incredible. And I've got to pick this game, even though I said I don't want to pick. We do have one more game after this. Even though I said I don't want to pick Falcons, and I won't be wagering on them at all anymore, but or against them. I'm going to have to take the Packers here. Packers are at home, 7.5, Monday Night Football. Packers should win by more than 7.5. And Drew, I'll say Billy's got the Packers. Who did Billy pick in the Cincinnati game? Where are you? Jaguars. Wow. All right. I know Drew's got the Jaguars. I know that Drew just picked the Falcons to win the game now. No, just cover. Oh, he's picking them to win the game. Bold pick, Drew. Bold pick. Oh, he just qualified that with the cover anyway, but still going to say you picked them to win. We'll wait for Billy's pick there. And at some point, we will have the Patriots and the Chiefs. Chiefs are -7. It's at home for the Chiefs. I won't pick against my team. I will forfeit the loss and take the Patriots +7. Maybe they circle the wagons to take the Chris Berman's cliche. Maybe they circle the wagons. I'm taking the Patriots against Kansas City. I'm pretty sure you guys are both going to take Kansas City. I already got your pick in that game, Bill. Didn't I? Maybe not. Packers. Drew's on the Chiefs. We'll wait for Billy's pick. It's going to be tough for the Patriots as I talk about this game a little bit. Patrick Mahomes, I have to talk about. It's just amazing. He's an amazing talent. He wins games he should never win. They played awful. They played awful for 3.5 quarters against the Chargers a couple of weeks ago. And everybody is going to have a bad game, and they're going to lose a game. That would have been a game you lose. Chiefs may not lose a game all year. They're just that good, and Patrick Mahomes is never out of a game. He didn't play well. He's out of sorts, and all of a sudden it clicks. Bang. Great player. That's okay, Billy. Don't worry about the delay. There's a good delay anyway. It's like 10 seconds because I'm broadcasting live to like 3 different sites. So the more sites I choose to go live on, the longer the delay for you guys. So don't worry about that. We didn't do anything with the Thursday night game. I had said to you guys that I would probably start posting that, but I to show you can trust me, on Thursday nights, I picked the Jets to win that game. And they did not. The Broncos won the game. The Jets were a 1-point favorite in that game. So I've already got myself a loss. And you guys can tell me who you would have taken in that game, and I will certainly take you at your word. So give me a pick on last Thursday's game. Jets won over the Broncos. The Jets were home. I think the Jets were home. Yeah, the Jets had to be home. They wouldn't be favored on the road, that's for sure. The Jets are atrocious, by the way. Talked a lot about this with Andrew Whiteman earlier. He called in, and he's a big Jets fan, and they're just dysfunctional from the top to the bottom. Just dysfunctional from top to bottom. Adam Gase, how he got the job to begin with is amazing to me. How he keeps the job is another. We'll see what happens, but I don't see Gase making it through the season. We talked a little bit earlier that maybe coaches won't get fired because of the COVID-19 situation. And maybe they'll just keep guys in their jobs longer. But Drew, did you give me a pick from? Saying Drew never pick the Jets or Giants. So Drew was on the Broncos. I should probably just follow that strategy too, bro. Brew. I like Brew better. You can change your name to Brew Ehrlich. So that's it, guys. Let me make sure we got all the games in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 games. We got 2 guest pickers. I will post all our results on Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on how busy I am. October is going to be a nasty month for the real job. I want to thank everybody for coming in. I want to remind you about a couple of things. I'll be back next Sunday with this show. We'll talk more sudsy. I'll talk more about probably the 3 subjects we've been talking about now until baseball's over. That's it. My guest, I want to thank my guest last week, Ken Schott, for coming on. My guest next week will be Dick Hoops Weiss, longtime sports writer with the Daily News and some other publications. Dick's really tuned into the college situation. Basketball has always been his forte. We're going to talk college basketball as that season's around the corner. We're going to talk college football, and we're going to talk how COVID is affecting all of those seasons. And I think we'll have a great time with Dick that day. So that'll be Friday at 8 a.m. live right here. So we got some great guests coming up past that. The week after that, I've got Harvey Ayrton, another former sports writer for the Post, the New York Times. Might have spent some time at the Daily News. I'll have to double check that. But he's also got several books out. When the Garden Was Eden is one of the best books. If you're a Knicks fan, if you haven't read When the Garden Was Eden, read the book. It's awesome. And it obviously covers the 69-70 Knicks championships and also through 73. But it'll be fun. So let's see. What else are we talking about here? Can we get a cup if we beat you, Drew's talking about? You mean the one with my mug? I'll send you a picture of my mug with my mug on it. I'll send you a picture of the mug. I don't know where my wife got it. I got to see if I can get like a volume discount. We'll start. What do I get if I win, by the way? I'll buy you a beer, Bill, when you get back. We'll go to Druthers. We'll have a beer. You're not too far from Druthers, I don't think. So you, me, and Drew will meet at Druthers. And the winners will have to buy. Oh, the losers will have to buy. Maybe that's what we'll do. You guys can comment on that, and I'll wait for it. But I'm going to have to shut down the show now, I think, guys, because it's almost 11. We got to get ready for some football. We got some great picks here. I've had a great time with you guys. I've seen a lot of you in and out of the room today. I love the comments. I'm having fun. BJ's is even better, Bill. We'll just have to figure out how we have to make it work, and we will. So the wager is beer at BJ's. My guest pickers were Drew Ehrlich, who, in full disclosure, is my brother-in-law. I'll still root against you today, Drew. Sorry. And Bill Pulver, who actually used to be my brother-in-law. We have an interesting dynamic here today. Anyway, 8:45. Yeah, it's 11 o'clock here, Bill. We got to get our day moving. All right, guys. Listen, I've had a great morning. I may take this show 2 hours every day if I don't have to get to Amsterdam for a football game. I've had a great time. Thanks for all the comments. Please, those of you who are in the groups that I've talked about earlier, please make comments. Come to the page and like and follow the page. A lot of you have. I want to thank you for that early on. I had some great conversations yesterday with a lot of you on Facebook. I had a lot of fun. And I'm having a lot of fun with this, and I want you guys to continue to have fun too. Let's have some fun today with some football, and let's stay healthy. You know, this COVID situation is not going away right away. Everybody be careful and be safe out there. Keith Engel, TGI Sports Talk. We'll see you Friday morning, 8 o'clock live with Dick Weiss. Bye-bye.